In last week's episode, I talked about the 5 reasons why building community is absolutely essential to growing your business or your big idea. And today I'm going to bring you part 2 of this series, and I'm spilling all of our secrets to growing an organic and engaged community and how doing so can absolutely grow your business no matter the size of your current audience. So this is going to be a good one. You're going to want to take notes. Let's dive in. Thanks for coming back to part 2 of this series. If you haven't already listened to the first episode, which is last week's solo episode, you want to go back and listen to that because we talked about the why. And I think it is important when you're implementing any new strategy in your business to look at the why behind the reason for doing that. I think it gives us more accountability when we're implementing new strategies and more consistency to see it through, even when you're not seeing immediate results and feeling like, gosh, is this ever going to take off? I don't know about you, but I've definitely had seasons where I felt that way in my own business. And the things I'm going to share with you today are by no means a quick fix. These are by no means an overnight success kind of tip or strategy. These are things that are so subtle. And if you do them, and there's a big if you do these, implement even 1 or 2 of these things I'm going to talk about today, I absolutely believe that this community of engaged human beings, so excited about what it is that you're offering, so connected to each other, and this almost like raving fan mentality is absolutely possible to cultivate no matter where your current audience size is. And that's really what we're going to talk about today, is how a lot of the things that we've done well within Powerhouse Women are things that are so subtle, but they make a huge difference when done well and done consistently. And we're going to talk about the ways to organically build your audience, or your community. There's nothing wrong with doing things like running ads or doing paid promotions. And so if you're already doing some of those things, keep doing them. Keep doing what's working for you. But the whole purpose of this 2-part series, last week's solo episode and then this one, is to have you look at where are you maybe missing the opportunity to add more value, to grow your income, to grow the impact that your business is making, and how can you implement the intention of building community in your current business, and where has maybe that been missing? Not like you even realized it was missing, but where have you been maybe missing the opportunity to make this bigger impact? Today we're going to talk about, like I said, the 3 things that I think any business can do. And these are things that no matter if you have a product-based business, a service-based business, or just the teeny little seed of an idea for a business, this is where I would start. So especially if you don't have a business yet, but you have this big idea, you can't shake the feeling that you're meant for more, you can absolutely start by building community. That's actually a great place to start before you really know what it is that you want to monetize down the road. This is number 1, the first thing I would start with if you're still in that fact-finding or, big dreaming, big unicorn dreaming stage of developing these big ideas. So the 3 things when I really look at what has helped us cultivate community and other businesses that I really love and admire, it really boiled down to these 3 very simple yet powerful things that any business can do. So the first one is you have to give people, so people in your audience, something to unify around. And this can be something like a common ethos or value that you all share. Maybe you're going to unify people around a common interest or a shared challenge. Maybe they are all struggling with the same thing and you're going to build community around that. Maybe you are going to unify people around a common aspirational identity. So, how do they want to see themselves? What kind of person do they aspire to be? And I think especially for those of you who have more product-focused companies, this aspirational identity piece is really such a brilliant way for you to create community among your current audience. Because you might look and say, okay, well, I have this, this product, but what is it that I can create community around? It's more of a transactional sale, or it's something that, people just purchase once or twice a year. And the truth is that any product can position itself into this story, this aspirational identity that someone wants to create. Because if you think about it, let's say the person wants to be known as bold and fearless and, this woman, let's just say, because I speak to mostly a community of women, that's who she wants to identify as. And then it becomes a matter of how do you take your product, what it is that you offer, or this really could even be your service, how do you show that woman how owning your product or incorporating your offering into her life is going to help her achieve or get closer to that identity that she wants to become more like. So that's a really powerful thing that you can unify people around. And if we think about it, this common ethos or value, the example within Powerhouse Women is our motto: we're not meant to do this alone. So this idea that community, this idea that, having mentorship, not doing things alone are essential for business, that is the common ethos that we have created a community around. And if you're wondering, okay, so now let's talk about how to tangibly do this. If you are wondering, how do I figure out what the common ethos or this aspirational identity that I want to unify people around would be? Well, if you think about it, your community, the people around you, should be the ones to tell you, right? Because if you're creating it for them and inspired by them, they will give you that feedback if you're, really creating this environment where their feedback is valued and where you're asking for it. So an example of that is with the Powerhouse Women motto, we're not meant to do this alone. That wasn't something that I came up with as a marketing strategy. No, what happened was when it was the 2018 event. So it was our second annual event. And it was something that I said from stage, during my opening piece of the event. And it wasn't something that I said planning to put it on t-shirts or, planning for it to be this thing that carried over year after year. But it was the thing that the community, the women who were there at the event, it was the thing that was most reshared, that people said to me afterward, gosh, okay, when you said this, I was like, yes, I resonated with that. So sometimes you might start out thinking that your common ethos or mission statement is one thing, but be open to that evolving as your community gives you feedback and as you become clearer and clearer about the people that you're serving. So some other tangible ways to give people something to unify around are things like, so you can highlight people in your community. So this is kind of a way to tangibly now take this thing that you want to unify people around and start to weave it in to your business. So let's say you want to weave this idea of community and, we're not meant to do this alone into your business. Well, how we do that is we weave it into the way that we highlight certain people in our community. So can you highlight clients who really embody the ethos or the value that you're highlighting? It also is a great way, if you're doing this, highlighting people within your community. It's a great way to give other people who are maybe watching and wondering, gosh, do I fit into this place? Do I fit into this community? It gives you the opportunity then to give those people someone else that they may resonate with even more than you. So by highlighting a bunch of different people who all embody this aspirational identity or who all embody this common interest or shared challenge, you can share stories of other people who've overcome that challenge. By highlighting people who are a perfect representation of whatever it is you are unifying people around, It also allows you to give people someone else that they can resonate with and connect to. They might connect with that person that you highlight even more than they connect with you or the brand. So that's number one. The way that you can organically build this engaged community is first and foremost by giving people something to unify around. Number two, and this I think is that critical piece. And in the first part of this podcast series, so last week's episode, I talked about the difference between a community and an audience. Like what's the actual difference as we're building it to intentionally creating an audience versus a community. And what I said was, the audience is more like I'm building the relationship with them, with this audience member one-to-one. And the community is where, yes, I'm also building that relationship, but I'm also helping them build that relationship with each other. So the second tangible way to now weave community in is to make the community feel like it is theirs, meaning the community members, not yours. So how you tangibly do this is you make your community feel like a part of every aspect of your business. No matter what your business is, you can make people feel a part of it by gathering their feedback and then actually using their feedback, right? You can make them feel like they're a part of decisions that you make. So perhaps you have them vote on your podcast artwork, or you have them vote on your packaging. Maybe you have them vote on the next product launch. Now, you as the business owner might already have an idea of what product it is that you plan to launch. But it doesn't do any harm to put 4 options up there. Maybe you send it out on social media, you put it in your email blast, and you say, hey, help us choose. Now, as a community, I'm not just sitting there going, oh, okay, what's the next thing you're going to sell to me? Now I feel like, ooh, hey, I get to vote. I get to exercise my opinion within this business that I want to build this relationship with. And I get to see oh, wow, where are the other people who kind of feel the same way that I do? So a tangible way to make community feel like it's theirs, not yours, is to get feedback always. Always, always, always get feedback. I've done podcast episodes on how to gather feedback. It is crucial if you are going to do this really well. And then you can have people, give people a say in decisions that you make in your business. Really take their feedback and their input into consideration. It will be felt, it will be realized when you do that, and it will make people feel like they are a part of your business, not just a customer. So I love that one. That's something that we do all the time, is gather feedback, and then we create things based on what our community tells us that they want. And then the third way to be intentional about growing this organic community is to create intentional ways for your community, your audience, to connect with each other. And I think this is one of the biggest differences between what it means to build an audience and what it means to build a community, is are you creating ways for your audience, for these people who share a common ethos or who have a common aspirational identity? Are you creating ways for them to connect with each other? Now, there's a lot of different ways to tangibly do this. It can be something as simple as a social media post where you give your audience a couple just quick directions to use the comments of that post to connect with each other. This is something that we do all the time within Powerhouse Women because these posts tend to perform really well in our social media. And it's just another way for us to really showcase and be who we say we are. So if we're all about community and we're not meant to do this alone, then we want people to be connecting with each other. But you can't just sit back and hope that your audience does that. You, as the business owner, if community is an intentional part of your business, you want to be creating opportunities for them to do so. So how that's looked for us is sometimes we'll do a roll call post and we'll say, hey, share in the comments below where you live, what your business is, and then we want you to go and find 2 other comments. Go follow that person and send them a message and just say, hey, I found you through Powerhouse Women. So I could either just put up a post saying hey, share where you're from, or by giving just that little bit more direction, it actually gets people to not feel weird about reaching out and, cold messaging someone who they found in that thread because the thread said to do so. So how can you be even more intentional with how you're prompting people on social media to connect with each other? Another tangible way to do that are things like, a lot of communities now are doing Zoom calls. And whether you feel Zoom called out or you're all about it, I think that especially if you want to create intimacy with a community, think about how you can show up. Can you host a masterclass? Can you host a way for people to connect? Even if it's not in person, it's somewhat face-to-face. So a lot of you saw this last year, we did connection calls. And we were doing them twice a week at the beginning of the pandemic, and then we dropped to once a week. Just a little spoiler alert, we are definitely looking at how we can bring those back in 2021 because we want to continue creating community within this beautiful audience that we call Powerhouse Women. And even within those connection calls, what we did was we created smaller groups for people to be able to break out and meet each other. So sometimes if you're doing a big Zoom call, it can feel a little bit like you're just watching TV, right? Like you're watching a speaker. So think about ways that you can, even if you're connecting people digitally, how can you get them connecting with each other? And if you use Zoom, there's this awesome breakout room feature. It should be available on all accounts. You just find it under settings. And that was a really cool way that we were able to help the women who came to those calls find and connect with others who were like-minded. And then a really common way when we think about creating intentional ways for your community members to connect with each other, the first one I think of actually is Facebook. And I think Facebook groups are still really our best option for a digital home for your community to converse. Whether you love or hate Facebook, there still just isn't a great other platform for people to digitally connect. But here's my caveat. I think that Facebook groups have to be intentional. So if you don't right now have the bandwidth or you don't have a team to support you in making sure that you're showing up consistently there and starting the conversations, it takes a lot of effort in order to get engagement in community Facebook groups, then you don't have to just default to doing that. You can use the other two things that I talked about in order to help your community to start connecting with each other. All right, let's recap those 3 ways that you can, right now, like in this moment, you can start to intentionally create community within your existing business. The first one is you want to give people something to unify around, whether it's a common value, an interest, a shared challenge, or an aspirational identity. Giving people something to unify around is like number one way to create community. And then you want to intentionally do that with the way that you're speaking to and communicating with your community. Any digital platform that you're communicating, any way that you show up and you speak to the people in your community, you should think about how to intentionally weave this identity and examples of it in. Then the second one is to make your community feel like it is theirs, like it belongs to the community members. It's not yours. You can do this by making people feel like they're a part of every single aspect of your business, from getting feedback, allowing them to vote, allowing them to truly have a say in what it is that you're doing. And then the third one is to create ways for your community members to connect with each other, whether that's in a Facebook group, through intentional Facebook or Instagram posts where you're encouraging engagement in the comments, or maybe it's a digital way that you're connecting people on Zoom calls or Instagram lives. But be intentional with encouraging and giving people a little direction about reaching out and connecting with each other. And I believe that if you were to take even just one of these and really go all in on being consistent with it, really intentional about weaving it into your business, I believe that this idea of building community as an intentional part of your business will absolutely be a game changer. And I believe that the businesses that do it well are truly going to thrive, especially as we head into another year that'll probably be filled with some uncertainty. So I'm going to make a bold statement and say this, that I believe community is going to be that determining factor to a business's success in the long term. If we look out 5 years, the businesses that start now and do this well are going to thrive. And those that don't, have this way of bringing people together, I think are going to struggle more than they need to. So one of the things that we're really going to be working with our Powerhouse Women Mastermind members on this next year is how to actually do this within their businesses. A lot of them already have a community element, and there's little things we can tweak. Those that don't already have it, or if you are sitting there going, okay, I know I can do better at this. I know if I just had a little strategy around how to make this a reality in my business, it could absolutely be that thing that takes my business to my wildest dreams and beyond, then you might want to consider being a part of our next mastermind that starts in early 2021. We are going to be opening up a few spots. We are limiting the group for this year because of, we're not sure what the next year is going to look like. We want to make sure we can get together in person and do it safely. So we are limiting the spots. There are only 15 spots available. And at the time of this recording, we might already have some of those full because first dibs go to our current mastermind members. And then after that, the next group of people who will get the opportunity to be a part of this group that I work really intentionally with for the next, almost the next full year, is the group that texts the word mastermind to the number that I'm about to give you. So if you know that you want first dibs on this epic group of women, the most growth you can even imagine creating in your life and business over the course of a year, then you definitely want to make sure that you don't miss out, because by the time we go to the text list, we might not even have spots left to go public to the rest of the world. So the number to text is 602-536 7829. And all you have to do is text the word mastermind, and then we'll know that you want to be first in line. Once we offer it to our current mastermind members, any spots that are left are going to go to this next group, the people who are part of this little text girl gang. And then from there, if we have any left, we will announce it publicly and allow other people to join. But here's the deal. When it comes to growing your business in 2021, I know that the first plan I made before I even planned my goals is I planned, how am I going to grow? Like, how am I holding myself accountable? How am I making sure that no matter what's thrown at me next year, I have strategy to support me, to reimagine whatever comes my way. I have a community of people who not only help me think bigger, but also hold me accountable to what I said I was going to do. And then a group of people to support me. And having those three things, I know that no matter what comes my way in 2021, I will be prepared. So if you know that you are looking for and ready for that kind of support and accountability, then just text the word mastermind. The number is in the show notes if you're driving and you can't write it down right now, but don't try to do 2021 alone. I know we're all looking forward to this next year, but I do believe that we're probably in store for another year of uncertainty. And that's okay, because now we have the ability to plan for it. So I cannot wait to see who joins us for the 2021 Mastermind. Oh my goodness, we just had so much fun growing and learning together this year. I cannot wait to get started with this next group. And maybe one of those spots will go to you. Who knows? But regardless, you know what we say, and we say it all the time, that you're not meant to do business or life alone. So as you're looking forward to your plans for the next year, this is a really great time of year just to sit and think about, what is that program or group of people or environment that you're going to put yourself in to make sure that you grow and to support yourself so that you don't have to go through any of the uncertainty or, the reimagining that's coming our way. You don't have to go through any of that alone.